I've got to tell you guys, what went down in Cleveland this past week didn't just feel like NFL news, it felt like a full-on cultural shift. The kind of moment where the old guard meets the new wave, and the cameras just happened to be rolling when it all came crashing down. So picture this. Primetime television, the bright lights of ESPN, a segment that was supposed to be all about unity. Coach Kevin Stefanski on one side, Shedeur Sanders on the other, the Browns trying to project this nice, clean image of harmony. And then, boom. In the middle of that carefully crafted stage, Sanders detonates a truth bomb that shakes the entire organization. It starts innocently enough. Stephen A. Smith lobs what sounds like a throwaway question about Shedeur's role in the offense. Most quarterbacks would play it safe. Smile, nod, spit out some canned line about team chemistry. But not Sanders. This kid doesn't do politics. He doesn't do phony smiles. Instead, with this calm, laser-focused look right into the camera, he says, "I can't control who benches me. I just control what I do on the field. But everybody knows what happens when I actually get to play." Let's build a totem pole together. Smash like, subscribe, and comment. If this video hits 2,000 likes, that means we're beating the Green Bay Packers. Let's make it happen. And let me tell you, the second those words left his mouth, the whole studio shifted. You could feel it. Cheers, laughter, applause from the crowd. Cameras cutting back and forth. On Sanders, steady and unshaken, and on Stefanski, fidgeting, forcing this awkward smile, tugging at his headset like he was trapped in a nightmare. It was cinematic. Youth versus tradition. Truth versus politics. And Sanders? He didn't flinch. Social media lost its mind instantly. I'm not exaggerating. Twitter trended within minutes. TikTok edits popped up before the commercial break even aired. And by the next morning, one clip had 2.3 million views with the caption, "Sanders just cooked Stefanski live on TV, fearless." Another one blew up with, "This man really said everybody knows," with zero hesitation. And the wild part? That wasn't just a soundbite. That was the climax of months of building tension. Because here's the backstory. This didn't come out of nowhere. Sanders had been clashing with the coaching staff since training camp. Remember that suspension? That wasn't just about rules. Behind the scenes, he'd been frustrated with Stefanski's conservative, outdated play calling. Sanders wanted to unleash his skill set. Stefanski wanted the system run his way, no exceptions. Old school rigidity versus new school creativity. And as the weeks went by, those quiet disagreements started boiling over. Teammates saw it too. They saw Shedeur outworking vets in film study, prepping harder, executing sharper, and still being held back. They saw the offensive coordinator trying to slip him more snaps, only to be stonewalled. They saw a coach clinging to control, while a young quarterback proved he was ready for more. So when Sanders dropped that line on live TV, it wasn't random. It was calculated. It was the strike of a man who knew the truth was already on his side. And man, the fallout was insane. Analysts broke down every frame. Colin Cowherd called it a transfer of power. Skip Bayless said it felt like the Browns were watching a rookie turn into a franchise quarterback in real time. And Shannon Sharp flat out declared, "That young man just graduated to the face of the franchise." Fans split down the middle. Older folks calling it disrespect. Younger fans praising Sanders as the future. Cleveland Reddit lit up like fireworks. Top comment? "Finally, someone with backbone. Stefanski's been wasting this roster for years." By Wednesday morning, it got even crazier. Reports came out that Sanders' agent met with the Browns front office right after the viral moment. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about playing time. It was about influence, about contract adjustments, about how much say Shedeur would have in shaping the offense. In other words, Sanders turned a TV segment into leverage. And Stefanski? He's standing in a minefield now. Ownership breathing down his neck, veterans whispering their frustrations, fans demanding change. The numbers back Shedeur up, too. Even in limited snaps, his efficiency has been off the charts. Higher completion percentage, better yards per attempt, more explosive plays than the starters ahead of him. Receivers love playing with him, teammates rally around him. And he's doing it all while keeping his composure, showing up early, and staying professional through the chaos. That's not just talent, that's leadership. And yet, the Browns are stuck. Stefanski's contract makes firing him expensive. Sanders is still on a rookie deal that makes him the biggest bargain in the league. Neither side is going anywhere without something breaking, which means every day this drags on, the tension only grows. And the fan base? They're not waiting. Sanders jerseys are flying off the shelves, season ticket demand is surging, sports radio can't talk about anything else. Cleveland hasn't felt this kind of quarterback buzz in decades. Then came the bombshell. Multiple reports said veteran players asked for a private meeting with ownership. Think about that. Players bypassing their coach to speak directly to the top. That's not just unusual, that's a mutiny. And when those leaks hit the media, it was obvious. The locker room wasn't behind Stefanski anymore. Quietly, they were lining up behind Sanders. By the end of the week, it was over. Stefanski reportedly offered his resignation, citing philosophical differences. But we all know what really happened. The power shifted. Within 7 days, Shedeur Sanders went from being a benched rookie to the centerpiece of the franchise. Not because of some lucky break, but because he refused to bow to politics. Because he used his voice, his timing, and his authenticity to force change. And here's what I think. Guys, this isn't just about Cleveland. This is about where the NFL is headed. The era of hierarchy is fading. The era of player empowerment, authenticity, and production-driven respect is here. Stefanski became a cautionary tale. Sanders became a symbol. And the Browns, well, they just learned the hard way that if you've got a generational talent, you either unleash him or he'll take the keys himself. The box score said one thing, but the aftermath told an entirely different story. For months, the fans had been screaming one demand so loud it echoed across all of Cleveland. Start Shedeur Sanders. I mean, how many times did we watch him dominate preseason? How many viral clips lit up Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, showing him dropping dimes in camp like he'd been doing this for years? Even Jimmy Haslam, the owner of this franchise, came out publicly backing him. Yet every single week, Stefanski stuck to his stubborn script, leaving Shedeur chained to the bench while lesser quarterbacks stumbled all over the field. But Sunday night? That was the breaking point. And here's where the story gets legendary. Instead of storming off, instead of hiding behind carefully worded PR garbage, Shedeur went live on Instagram. He looked straight into the camera, and with a calmness that cut sharper than any shouting ever could, he said, "I told them I was ready. Everyone knows I was ready. Tonight showed you what happens when I'm not out there." That was it. 24 words. But those words didn't just echo, they detonated. In that moment, a rookie quarterback ended a head coach's credibility. Stefanski's authority. Gone. And inside that locker room, it wasn't just disappointment anymore. No, it was chaos. Reports say veterans were openly questioning coaching decisions. Younger guys were flat out venting about wasted opportunities. And the atmosphere turned toxic instantly. And don't get it twisted. Shedeur's statement wasn't some heat-of-the-moment rant. This was calculated. This was months of disrespect boiling over. Months of watching his coach refuse to admit the obvious. That Shedeur Sanders wasn't just good. He was the best option Cleveland had. The Ravens game was just the spark that lit the powder keg. Even players admitted it. One veteran reportedly told local media, "The fans know it, the league knows it, and even Stefanski knows it. He just wouldn't admit it." And that right there sums up the dysfunction. When your own locker room starts talking like that, your credibility as a head coach evaporates. The numbers back up the frustration too. Cleveland's offense against Baltimore? A pathetic 187 total yards. The starter went 14 for 29, 156 yards, and tossed 2 picks. Meanwhile, Shedeur was on the sideline, helmet in hand, watching another game slip away because of pure stubbornness. But here's the part that absolutely blew my mind. Reports say teammates had been quietly begging the coaching staff for weeks to make the change. Linemen loved his pocket presence. Receivers swore by his accuracy. Even defensive guys were asking why they had to keep carrying the load while the offense wasted drives. Everybody wanted Shedeur. Everybody except Kevin Stefanski. And that brings us to Jimmy Haslam, who, by all accounts, finally snapped. Imagine spending millions building this roster, hyping up your fan base with the promise of a new era, only to watch your coach sabotage it all. Witnesses say Haslam cornered Stefanski after the game in his office and demanded answers. And when Stefanski gave the usual development timeline excuse, Haslam lost it. He reportedly shouted, "Team chemistry? Look around. The team wants Shedeur. You're the only one creating chemistry problems." That moment, right there, was the death of Stefanski's authority. Executives overheard it. Word spread instantly. The head coach wasn't just on the hot seat. His chair was already on fire, and it didn't stop inside the building. The fan revolt began immediately. Outside the stadium, within minutes of the final whistle, signs were popping up. "Fire Stefanski. Start Shedeur." Social media blew up like a bomb. By midnight, "Fire Stefanski" was trending nationwide, and "Start Shedeur" had millions of impressions. This wasn't normal fan frustration. This was a rebellion. Even former Browns legends joined in. Bernie Kosar blasted the QB management. Joe Thomas questioned the decisions on radio. Representatives for the late Jim Brown issued statements backing Sanders. When franchise icons turn on you, you don't just have a problem. You've got a full-blown crisis. The national media smelled blood, too. Stephen A. Smith tore Stefanski apart on ESPN, saying Shedeur humbled him and publicly embarrassed him. Skip Bayless called it the most devastating criticism he's ever seen. And it came from a rookie who hasn't even officially started yet. Colin Cowherd put it bluntly. Shedeur represents everything fans want. Stefanski represents everything they hate. And get this, even the NFL league office got involved. According to reports, Roger Goodell himself was frustrated about Shedeur sitting on the bench. Why? Ratings. The league knows a young, charismatic, electric quarterback like Sanders is a goldmine for viewership. His preseason highlights were pulling insane numbers, and Cleveland's boring conservative offense was tanking primetime ratings. Goodell didn't interfere directly, but the message was clear. Play your star, or risk losing the league's support. By Monday morning, even the veterans had made their choice. Sources say players weren't criticizing Shedeur for going public. They were applauding him. One defensive captain reportedly said, "No screaming, no drama, just facts. Sometimes the truth hurts. And when your veterans openly side with the rookie against the head coach, that's checkmate. Let's build a totem pole together." Smash like, subscribe, and comment. If this video hits 2,000 likes, that means we're beating the Green Bay Packers. Let's make it happen! Then came the Instagram video fallout. Over 50 million views in 12 hours. Remixes, reaction videos, national debates. And the brilliance of it? Shedeur never lost his composure. No tantrums. No whining. Just cold, professional truth. That calm delivery was more devastating than any angry rant could ever be. It was the moment the NFL world realized this kid wasn't just a player. He was a brand, a movement, a cultural force. The numbers sealed it. The Browns' offense ranked near dead last across the board, while Shedeur's preseason stats were elite. 73% completion, 892 yards, 8 touchdowns, no picks, a 127 passer rating. He elevated everyone around him. The line blocked better, receivers looked sharper. Even the defense benefited from longer drives. He made the entire team better, and yet he sat on the bench. By Tuesday, the situation reached hostage crisis levels. Fans weren't just mad. They were rooting for Stefanski to fail, just so Haslam would have no choice but to fire him and start Sanders. Sponsors were panicking, threatening to pull support. Season ticket holders were planning protests. And the players? They'd already picked their side. This wasn't just about one game anymore. This was about the future of the Browns. On one side, Shedeur Sanders, hope, excitement, the next big star. On the other, Kevin Stefanski, stubbornness, incompetence, and wasted opportunities. And after Sunday night, it feels like Cleveland already made its choice.